Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Deal, where we discuss business, entrepreneurship, and commercial real estate. My name is Lacey Labs, and I'm here with my co-host, Laura Martin. In today's episode, we interview Rosanna Smithnosky, president of Susquehanna Civil and a career-long woman in engineering. Rosanna has spent her career working on highways and bridges across Pennsylvania. In 2019, she transitioned into the role of president and now leads her team as they continue to work with PennDOT, the PA Turnpike, and highway transportation structures. Tune into this episode to hear more about Rosanna's journey, the engineering experience that she shares, and what advice she would give to younger engineers getting started in their careers. Rosanna Smithnosky, welcome to Beyond the Deal. It's so great to have you here with us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Laura and Lacey. It's a real treat.
We're really glad that you're able to join us.
Great.
So, we'd love to hear, just get started with your story.
Sure.
How you got started in business, but also just kind of how you landed in Central PA and what it's been like for you living here.
Okay. Well, I'm born and raised in Harrisburg, downtown Harrisburg, and lived here all my life, excluding a few years in Pittsburgh. I went to the University of Pittsburgh. But yeah, I am the daughter of Italian immigrants, the youngest of 4 girls, a very close-knit family. Growing up in downtown Harrisburg was a wonderful experience for me. It just probably spurred on my love of city and architecture. I grew up in Shipoke area, which is a historic neighborhood, and everything walkable. I just love that walkability. I don't live in the city right now, but it's just something that I appreciate. And being in a close-knit family and an Italian family, a little bit of different culture I grew up in. But yeah, and I love Central PA. I love Pittsburgh, lived there for a while, went to the University of Pittsburgh, but ultimately wanted to come back home. So still near my mother, my sister. I have 2 other sisters, and one in Philly and one in Maryland. Yeah.
Lacey shares your love of downtown Harrisburg.
That's
okay.
Great, yeah. So, and walkability is a great thing, and it's tied to engineering. Right? We include sidewalks in our projects or add them. So,
I didn't know you were from Harrisburg.
Yeah.
We'll have to go over for an Italian meal sometime. We'll invite ourselves over.
I'm not a great cook, though. All out of the 4 sisters, 2 are great cooks. My mother's an amazing cook. I don't know what happened to me. I say I assemble food, but
That's okay.
I don't cook it.
It's all right.
Oh, yeah. No. So what kind of drew you to pursuing a career in engineering? Like, I assume you went to school for that.
I did. I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I would say, some of this is a traditional answer, but it's very true. I loved math. Growing up, just math was fun to me. I also loved drawing. I drew a lot. I didn't take classes to draw, but I just spent a lot of my time drawing. And I think growing up in the downtown environment, I also had a love for the built environment, the buildings, the architecture. The park was down the street from me, all the bridges I could see when I would go to Riverfront Park. So when I got to high school and had to make a decision, I'm also a very practical person, and I knew I wanted to go into a career that I could get in good chances of getting a job coming out. So I looked at both architecture and engineering, ultimately went toward engineering, civil engineering, because of the built environment and the opportunity to work on big projects. And quite frankly, it's been a great career, and there's a ton of need for civil engineers. So it's a lot of, there was opportunity and career stability too, my whole career. Yeah. So
you went to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And then when you graduated, what did you end up doing, kind of getting your start?
So, and I actually graduated in 92. So I had mentioned that I loved Pittsburgh area, and I wanted to stay in Pittsburgh as much as I loved Harrisburg. I was at that age. So I was lucky enough to get a job at a small, privately owned engineering firm in Pittsburgh called Trans Associates. And, going to college, I kind of focused on a little bit of both. I focused on structural engineering, and they also taught you transportation engineering too. And I thought I was going to go the structures way, but I got a job at Trans Associates, and Trans Associates they had a mix of traffic engineers. So civil engineers also do traffic. There's people that specialize in traffic analysis, and they do the traffic studies for, land development impacts, right? So land development comes in, what type of traffic is going to generate. And I worked on the roadway design side of that. So a lot of the projects were, whether it was a land development, highway occupancy permit, we'd need to create the construction plans. This is on the design side, not the construction side. And I worked there, just helped developing the roadway plans, whether we need to add turn lanes, driveways for the land development. That got my start. And then from there, I went to another company in Pittsburgh, URS Corporation, and they were, and I did want to hopefully work on projects that involved bridge structures too, because I had that in my college background learning. And so I went to this other company knowing that they worked on road and bridge projects, and I got exposed to more of just public sector transportation infrastructure, and there started working on most of my career, which was on working as a consultant for PennDOT on PennDOT road and bridge projects.
How many bridges do you know are in Pennsylvania? A lot.
I should know that, but
There's
I
a
don't.
ton.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Hundreds,
There's
probably.
yes, and a lot more than many states.
And mostly state-owned?
Mostly state-owned. Some are municipality owned.
Okay.
But yeah.
It's a lot to upkeep.
It's a lot to keep. There's a lot of, always funding needs to maintain that amount of bridge and roadway network.
I remember I stopped on 83 when the walking bridge broke and watched it float away.
Yes.
I just happened to be there at the right time.
Really?
We all just parked our cars and got out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And to this day, it's not
so sad.
repaired.
That was nice.
Right. But there are the Market Street Bridge with the pedestrian sidewalk on it too. So again, you're talking about funding and
it's not, you can do it.
Yeah. But yes, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. There's and those types of things, there's so many reasons that drive the need for roadway improvement projects. Just deterioration and the environment and impacts, drive the need for replacement or capacity. You just need to accommodate more traffic, and you need improvements for that. You need a new route to connect to areas that are critical to commerce. There's so many things that drive transportation infrastructure needs. And also land development, which, one drives the other. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? But, if there's an area for land development, a lot of times, the road might need expanded or adjusted there too. Even the opportunity to look at I talked about pedestrian connectivity, sidewalks that might connect one new development to the other. I mean, that's all part of, if it's tied to a state road, part of the PennDOT process when we look at roadway projects.
I've noticed that there's a bunch of rotaries going in lately.
Yes,
they're not cheap. Roundabouts.
Yes.
I'm not a fan, and they're not cheap, but I'm like, somebody at PennDOT must love those because they are popping up everywhere.
They are, and I think it takes a little bit of getting used to. I'm not going to lie, sometimes I drive through them and feel a little, because I not used to driving through them, but the truth is they improve traffic flow. And they improve safety too.
If you say it, I'll believe it.
There are studies coming out that
good.
Because there's more that are being constructed in Pennsylvania, and they're coming out with studies. Now they have the results after them being installed for a few years that show that pedestrian accidents have gone down.
That's good.
So yeah,
It's like Second Street to have them. I mean, as a resident who lives there, the speed that people would fly up Second Street before they were in was insane.
That's good
like
to know.
Not safe.
Because I get on Second Street and say, I don't understand this.
It's because people live right there, and for us who are like, our house is there, and the place we go to get a grocery is there, and we cross
it's a big
it every
difference.
day. It's game changing.
See, I wouldn't know that just driving down there.
Yeah.
It's like an obstacle course.
Purposeful.
And you got to really pay attention.
Pedestrian, I'm in the industry of public transportation infrastructure, but the pedestrian mobility is a big part of that too. So sidewalks, safe crossing, all these things come into play on roadway improvement projects. So, yeah. And this is where my background and love for urban environments and just the built environment, love the idea of how do you bring beauty into what you're developing. It's not just we're going to stick a road in here and not consider, the adjacent uses of areas. PennDOT's very good about connecting all that planning process, but I especially love the projects that have the beautification component too, because that's truly what draws in people and gets that much greater enjoyment and builds up communities. I think.
Now, are you involved in the 581 project?
The South Bridge, yes.
It's a lot.
We have it's huge.
And 83 and 283.
Yes, we are involved. So my company, Susquehanna Civil, most of our work, so a lot of these PennDOT projects are small, medium, large size projects, and they're all made up of several companies working on one project. It's never just one company. There's a lead company that leads the project, but they bring people onto their team, and everybody has certain specialties and a role.
Somebody has the eminent domain. And,
So a lot of our position is on teams. So we have components of the 83 project. Yeah.
I'll be glad when it's done.
Technical, survey and mapping we've been doing, right away. Clearing
it's
right
a
away.
lot. It's a lot. Every time I drive down, if something's moved, something's different. It's like, wow, it's a lot.
It is
project
a lot.
Management.
It's amazing. The grandness of these projects, which I said is kind of cool to be involved in these really big projects and see how they improve communities in the area. And it's quite an undertaking, and the people involved in them don't get enough praise. So I'm here to give praise to all the engineers, all the technical staff, PennDOT leading the charge, and also the funding that supports, that helps make the projects happen, because these are public sector infrastructure. We rely heavily on federal funding to make them happen.
Yeah, I have suggestions on a few road improvements. There should be a PennDOT site where you can submit them.
You can start with your, talk to the township.
I was going to say, I'll send you an email.
I'll get it to the right person.
I do have a few suggestions, but I know the stretch between off of 81, 114 to 581, which I think is a mile. I think I heard that was $20 million for 1 mile of widening one lane.
Yes.
So it's so much money.
It is. It's expensive.
Yeah.
Materials have gone up too. I mean, everything. So unfortunately, there's a high cost with all these improvements, but there's also a high cost to not do them too. So, and like I said, there's different reasons, whether it's safety-driven, capacity-driven, a little bit of both, providing access to areas that didn't have it. So,
And your firm is how old?
So we've been around 16 years.
Okay.
Our founder, Lee Nadler, started it with one person, and we're up to 79 people.
Wow.
79 full-time staff. Yeah, one office. And,
in York?
And yes, on the north side of York, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's been great, too. I joined in 2014, and we were 42 people at that point.
Wow.
So we continue to grow. We've been developing, we have a multi-service model. So we have a combination of survey mapping group, transportation engineers, structure engineers, geotechnical group that does design and drilling inspection. We have bridge inspection. We have an environmental group and utility clearance and right-of-way. So we cover a lot for a small business.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of our people, And as I said, mostly our expertise is PennDOT infrastructure, roadway.
Do you ever
projects.
get one-off calls from commercial realtors looking for something done on a property, or is it pretty much you're doing mostly government work?
We mostly do government work, and we get calls now and then that differ. And honestly, we stay open. We are honest if we are a good fit, but we stay open to, hey, this is a good fit, and we can be of help. I think it's important. One of the things I think of most is we're employing 79 people, 79 families, and I want to make sure that they're getting work opportunities that they feel are valuable and good. So, we always stay open-minded. Yeah.
Can you refer, like if I called you, I was looking for somebody, do you have engineers that do other type of work that you'd recommend?
Mm-hmm.
That you run into?
I mean, I would. The transportation infrastructure community is we know each other well across the state.
Yeah.
We are often in same circles for associations, and we get to know each other. And because we team so much together, we start to know, they're really strong in this. And a lot of us all have similar strengths too.
Right.
But maybe locale, where they have an office, might be more of the help in the right fit. If you need a certain area surveyed. For us, it makes sense if we're in a certain zone, but to send surveyors driving too far might not make sense. But we know people that are strong in other areas too.
So your employees, are they scattered across the state?
No, most of them come from central Pennsylvania. Okay. Yeah. Now, honestly, with hybrid work, it's starting to open up. We have people come in 2 to 3 days a week. 3 days is the goal. But it does open up to, hey, maybe we can consider somebody a little further away, again, if it's the right fit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you're always hiring?
When we need. We always have open positions. That has been constant. And so it's a little bit difficult. Civil engineering, I guess I wanted to mention this is Engineers Week. So speaking of hiring, and a plug for maybe those listening out there that it's a great career if you have young children that might lean towards liking design, playing in the dirt, building things, especially girls. We don't have enough girls in engineering. And there's so much opportunity. And I think just getting to understand what civil engineers do might be a first step. But yeah.
What do you think the percentage of women in the industry is? Like under 10, or it's better than that?
I think a little better than that. At our company, we're in the 20 to 25% range across all our services, but still pretty low, pretty low. And I'll give a plug to Women in Transportation. It's an association that, it's a national association, Women in Transportation Engineering. And its acronym is WTS. And they have a local chapter, very active in just bringing together the women engineers, having programs that help develop them in all sorts of ways, whether it's networking, soft skills, just a really great, but they really do a lot to help try to bring women into engineering. So, but we have, I'm involved with ACEC, which is the American Council of Engineering Companies, and one of the big pushes right now is also workforce development, because I said there's not a lot of civil engineers out there. The kids coming out of school today in civil engineering are getting just scooped up. I mean, they're probably going into their senior year and they already have a job lined up.
Wow.
Yeah. So lots of need, lots of opportunity. Yeah.
How many different types of engineering is there? Is there a lot?
So under the umbrella of civil engineering, there's structures, which bridges, buildings. Most time, structural engineers that do bridges aren't the ones that do buildings. You go one way or the other. There's geotechnical engineering, which is subsurface ground, which is retaining walls, analyzing subsurface to determine foundation designs. My background's roadway design, so that's transportation engineering. So with a focus on roads, roadway design, that covers everything from the road design. Then there's things like even pavement marking design, signage design ties to that. The traffic control that you need when they go to construction falls under that. There are environmental engineers too that fall under that. So that's the environmental component of the work. So there's lots of different expertise. Traffic engineers that focus more on analyzing traffic impacts and the studies to determine what you need.
That's a lot.
It is. There's a lot that falls under just civil engineering. But it's all tied to the built environment.
So if you're a civil engineer, do you then have to have that specialty, or are you trained in all of it? I should know this, but I don't.
Well, so when I went to the University of Pittsburgh, they start to give you a general understanding. You've kind of got a variety of coursework that gives you a general understanding, but then you start to get specialized. I actually focused more on structures when I was in college, but where I got my opportunities, there was more work on roadway, and I went and I enjoyed it, and I went in that direction.
So your degree is civil engineer, and then is it a minor in?
No, it's a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering, and it's just to that. But there are people that, yes, they go to school-focused environmental engineering, or they took, a focus on transportation engineering, but your degree is Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering.
It's interesting.
So, yeah.
All right, do you ever get on a highway and go, who designed this? Like, this is crazy. Like Lancaster sometimes, that around Belmont, getting on back to 283, it's crazy.
Right, yeah.
You're not really paying attention. You can go the wrong way.
You're right. I think sometimes if you good signage, sometimes I think more it's that.
We are lacking
why wasn't
that.
the advanced signage here? But sometimes they're just older projects that need some upgrades. And when they get the upgrades, then those improvements come in, too short of an on-ramp. I don't like that. But then again, a lot of times there's restrictions.
81 has that.
Right? These things create accident clusters. Those accident clusters are monitored, and and sometimes they're the drivers of, hey, we need to make an improvement in this area. So,
I have to talk offline with you. I have a lot of suggestions. I said a lot of traffic.
We'll bring you in as a consultant.
All right. Add me to that list.
User experience.
Right. The roundabout critiquer. I have a new title.
I'll be positive.
Hey, it makes everything. I always said I should have been hired. I said this when I was little. I was like, I think my best job is just to be a critiquer of everything. Bring me into any company, anywhere, and I'll tell you what I think needs to be.
I always say problem solver. I'll tell you my real opinion once, and then I move on.
Well, I think that's part of my draw in engineering. Engineering is problem solving. Yeah, it is.
I might have missed my calling. I don't know about the math part, though.
There's still time. We need women.
Laura, you do lots of problem solving in just a different capacity.
Yeah, I do feel like my brain gets used a lot lately.
So, Rosanna, you're not only a woman in this industry, but also the president of Susquehanna Civil.
Yeah.
So tell us about kind of transitioning into that role and what you do now in that role as president.
Okay, well, transitioning into that role. So I was an engineer my whole career. My degree's in engineering. I never took business classes. I have to say, I think I have a general just interest in business and running things well. But the opportunity, I was just so fortunate to have an opportunity and meet a lady. Her name is Lee Nadler. Laura knows Lee, who's the founder of Susquehanna Civil. And Lee's a very unique individual. She wanted to build a company not about her, but for the people. And when she knew, it was, she knew when she wanted to transition out into her next stage. And she was very selfless. And she just wanted to bring in people and give opportunity to women. And I got lucky enough to have met her years ago before she came to that point. And she reached out to me. She reached out to several people and said, look, I'm going to be doing this, and I can't promise anything, but there's opportunity here. And I was at the point in my career where I was just ready to try something different. I loved where I worked. I loved the people I worked with. And, again, nothing was definite, but I went and joined a small business, went from working, was at a large business, 45,000 people working in a small office in Harrisburg, to a small business. But it was great, great experience. And I just got pulled into just learning the business side of it more. And Lee retired in 2019, and I stepped into the president's role in 2020, January. And I was not prepared. For everything we did and integrating into the business side of things, I think it's a journey. I'm sure there's lots of different leaders and, however they stepped into, whether it's being president or another type of leadership. I still think for everybody it's a journey, and there's a lot of people out there that just they got it, right? But I love it. I try my best. I'm always learning, which makes it so much fun. Every day's different. And I think what I've learned the most is, in the beginning, I'm like, where should I be spending my time? But really, it's best for me to kind of let my time divide it up. There's so many places that, especially in a role as president, you can really be impactful. I work in the BD and marketing side sometime with our lead. It's important to me about our brand and how we present ourselves and teaming discussions. I work on strategic planning, trying to look out further ahead of I always try to say, if I can just look out further ahead, I have the luxury to do that. Everybody else is busy doing other things, and making sure that we are planning accordingly to position ourselves for the future. And then even just being there at the office, even though we're hybrid, I feel it's important to be accessible for that what if. And these are just little things of what I felt was important as I became president and what helps. It's a little bit of everything.
So I knew of her before I met her. We were at a networking thing a couple months ago, and I'm like, I know exactly who you are because Lee and I were in WPO together.
Oh, wow.
And so I followed along for several years, the whole plan and transition and the faith and confidence she had in you, I knew about before I ever met you.
That's so nice. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. She was amazing, and she was a great planner, too. So she put the wheels in motion to help develop people. And it wasn't just me. There were other leaders, and I worked closely with another female engineer she brought in, Crystal Ann Deerdorf. Who's amazing.
Her too.
We're very close. Yeah.
And the other thing Lee gave me, I am a big believer in bullet journaling.
Yes.
And I carry that thing. If I buy a purse, it has to fit in it. It's in there now. Like, I don't go anywhere without that thing. I call it my second Bible.
So
she taught me that.
She told me about it, and she gave me a link, and I read this bullet. I'm like, I was a little confused, and I'm like, I feel like I didn't quite get the concept. It worked for her, though, right?
I'll sit down and go through it with you.
It's a very simple, focused approach and planned approach to doing things. Yeah, and keeping yourself organized.
I couldn't live without it. So
we can have a session on the bullet journal.
Separate breakout.
We'll get people organized.
Organization is huge. Yeah. I think having that skill set, it takes, some people more naturally lean that way. And some, I think you either have to realize it's worth working at, because once you get your way of being organized, it can just make everything else so much easier and remove stress.
True.
Sure. So leadership transition, you just went through this, but almost 6 years ago.
That's hard to believe.
So you're well established now, but that's something I think a lot of businesses, that's a tough thing, especially as an owner, to transition down to handing that off to other people. What are some of the things that you would say were kind of core to how that went for you as the one taking over, and that you saw Lee do? And are there any kind of core values or principles that were like, these were really important that they handed down and passed through? Like, what sort of takeaways from that process could you share with us?
Once, and Lee, again, great planner, and once she set a plan in motion, she stuck to it too. And they showed great confidence in who they saw, that like, look, we know we're going to be making this ultimate transition. We trust you. And we don't just trust you. We're going to give you these things to do and lead, but we're also here for you. So there was this, I think, constant opportunity to do different things, again, outside of the engineering into the business side of it, making business, just being involved in business decisions, being exposed to that, or just saying, here, we're going to need to, we have a process here we need you to work on and figure out. But I think there was a lot of confidence that helped propel the next leadership group. And I think that takes a lot of selflessness, and it can't be easy for the person that is going to be giving up, what they worked so hard for and built. So I have to believe there's this weird, bittersweet about it too. But made the plan, stuck to the plan.
And it was a couple years, right?
It was a 5-year transition.
Yeah.
It was a 5-year transition.
Yeah.
So, also, like I said, there were other involved in the leadership group that now we have this. It was basically bringing up a whole new tier of leadership to lead the company. Yeah. So
yeah,
I hope that answered the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they invested in you, right? I mean, they helped you get what you needed. And
one of the things too, where my whole career up to that point, I loved what I did. I loved being on projects, and I met, as I said, these projects are made up of teams of companies, several companies. So you start to get to know people in the industry, and I loved that part. I really loved working with. So, again, plugging the civil engineering. If you like the idea of working with teams of people, on big projects, this is it. So I loved that component of it. But up until I got to Susquehanna Civil, I was very much kind of kept on I worked on a few projects and only got exposed to so many people. When I got to Susquehanna Civil, and you're talking about investing in their people, they were like, we want you to get out there. Start getting involved in associations. This is a great thing to do. And I had done it a little bit, but, Lee was a big proponent of it. And then I started doing that, and I was like, wow. All my career, I was never that involved. And that's when I started meeting other people in the industry. Things just, you just start, it just becomes more fun when you know people and you're talking, to more people that are doing the same thing as you, and you feel that sense of community more. So that was great. Just getting me known amongst other companies that are really, a lot of them are our clients. So we're on PennDOT jobs, but if we're on a team, our client is the lead company on that team. So, getting to know all those different people is an important thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Value of networking.
Yes.
And community.
Networking is so important.
Yeah, for sure. And learning the business side. I heard you say that earlier too, was a big piece, being pulled into more,
Right.
I'm assuming, like winning the projects and sort of doing do we go after this? How do we do it? What does the proposal take? Who do we need to pull in to do that proposal?
Right.
Those back and forth negotiations, that kind of.
There's all that. And a lot of Susquehanna Civil's work, we have good relationships with people. They like the work that we do, and we're brought on to teams. So that's part of our selling is do good work, which we talked about sort of core values. Susquehanna's core values: integrity, quality, care, and responsiveness. But I always say it's the quality and the care that I think are so key. Quality ties to everything. Quality ties to me, even how an employee talks to our client. Do they communicate well? Is there a quality in the communication? So it obviously has to be a quality, and we do tons of calculations and design work, right? Again, we're on the design side, so there's tons of checking and all that. So that's a big part. But I always say care is so important, and we brought that on as a new value when I became president, and I felt it was important. And I got some questions like, well, isn't that more for like medical industry care? And I said, I want to give a different understanding of it here. If you care about what you do, you're going to do good work. If you care about the person next to you, you're going to communicate well with them. It's not just, so let's look at care more broadly. I want everybody to care about what they're doing and care about the people they're working with. And I think that ultimately is going to drive a good, strong culture and firm. Yeah.
Love that.
Well, we have 2 questions we'd like to ask you as we kind of wrap up here.
Okay.
So the first one is, what advice or sort of direction would you give to people who are younger in their career, maybe in school right now for engineering or considering engineering or just graduated, on sort of as they get started? What advice or tips or direction would you give them?
Okay, that's a great question. So I would say, as a young engineer, you're going to get a job first. Civil engineering, you're going to get a job.
Good career path.
Ask questions. Ask a ton of questions. Make sure you're, and try and have an answer a little bit when you're asking the questions. Don't think you're not expected to understand and know everything. There's so much learning after the graduation. 95% of it's occurring after the graduation. You've just got the good basis from college. But also, I think back to getting involved. If there's associations that you're aware of and your company is willing to support going, a lot, or a lot of them in transportation, like one of them's ASHE, American Society of Highway Engineers, that focuses on the highway engineers. They have lots of events, and that younger kids go to that, and you start to meet the other people in your industry, same age as you, and you start to build your network. And, next thing you know, you're working on projects together. Everything, just more opportunities, and it just makes work more fun. So I think getting involved in associations, asking lots of questions, would be my biggest suggestion. A lot of engineers are shy people, so they might stay away from getting in public environments like these things. But I say just push yourself a little bit beyond your comfort zone. You'll break that point where it doesn't feel awkward anymore. And that's growth.
And you'll meet people who want to have the same interests in you, and they'll talk to you about the stuff you do every day, not just expect the small talk.
Do you guys hire interns, summer interns?
Sometimes. So as a small business, we don't always have the ability to have an intern. We love the concept of it, right? Because it helps, educate a young college student
and hopefully
get
become
them
an employee.
Started. But sometimes we do, and sometimes not every year. We don't consistently. But there's a lot of the firms that are bigger can do that consistently, and that's great.
So our final question, we ask everyone the same one, is if you could go back and start your career over again, but keep all the knowledge and experiences that you've gained over the time you've been in it, is there anything that you would do differently, and what is it?
Keep all the knowledge. Wow, that's okay.
Get to where you are faster is how I summarize it.
Question. I think it was probably when you come out, sometimes, again, these are big projects. You start off working in you're kind of in a piece of it, and you might just see that piece. But things become so much more interesting and fun when you understand the big picture. What is the whole thing we're trying to do? That ties with asking questions. It might not be totally going to affect this, but it does in a way. And you start to, as a young person, you'll develop faster once you understand the big picture and all the components. And you'll even start to this what I'm doing over here, how it connects over here. So I would just say sort of making sure you understand the big picture on the projects you're working on can really help. Just make even everything more interesting. They talk about sometimes people get pigeonholed, right? They have you working on this very specific thing because there's so much on these jobs. But things can become more interesting when you start to understand the bigger picture. Yeah. So that would be...
Might help you solve your little piece, too, if you understand how it fits into the bigger.
Yes, yeah.
Bigger part.
It starts to lead to better question asking, realization that, oh my gosh, I'm doing this, it affects over here, we better communicate, so.
Yeah.
So.
Great.
And I want to know what skincare you use.
Oh my gosh.
You can always tell me offline, but
it's a variety of, I never stick to anything. I try something different every time.
I'm the same. That's the problem. Mine's not working though.
It is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rosanna.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you for what you do because commercial development, I love to see communities that are built up. I love, obviously, preservation of the environment, too. It's a marriage sort of thing, but it really does provide so much opportunity to people when these areas get developed, when buildings get used, and I just love to see that. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That was Rosanna Smithnosky sharing her insights on civil engineering for transportation infrastructure. For more information on Rosanna, Susquehanna Civil, Inc., or to learn more about SB and Lattice, click the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Deal.